Krishna. Welcome all to Shubha Mangalarati in a short class. So today we'll discuss about the three modes of material nature. So before I start, I would like to offer my prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shilakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadanti Swapadhantikam Valdeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamyam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanshta Shri Rupam Sagra Jatnam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Swajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Dev Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhani Thamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताक स्वामी निति नामिने नमो आचार्य पदाय निताय कृपा प्रदायने गौर कथा धामदाय नगर ग्राम तारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकते। So Hare Krishna. So today we will discuss about the three modes of material nature. We have also heard in our regular Bhakti Rakshas about the three modes of material nature. But today we'll try and see, we'll connect the three modes of material nature with certain analogies for our better understanding. And we'll also try and discuss how can we transcend these three modes. And how is it possible that we go even beyond the mode of goodness and attain Shuddha Sattva? Connecting it with an analogy, before starting, I would like to state as to how this material world and the three modes of material nature are interconnected. So, when we generally go and watch a movie, so that time without saying, it comes to our mind as to who has been casted in the movie. So who could be the actor, or what side roles are the other people playing, who is the comedian in the movie. So just in the similar way, how we talk about a movie and we start discussing about who's been casted in the movie, what famous personalities who have been introduced, or which new personalities come into the picture on the screen. So similarly, when we talk about the material world, that Krishna states that it is Dukhalayam Ashashvatam, without saying, the three modes of material nature are being associated with this material world. So as we all know, we have heard from our leaders and our bhakti, when we attend the Bhakti Vrikshas, we've heard that these three modes of material nature, they only exist in this the material world. But when we go to the spiritual abode of the Supreme Lord, that these three modes are not prevailing. So we know that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, because the Supreme Lord states, Mama Evamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So we are all the part and parcel of the Lord. So the Supreme Lord is also is Satchit Ananda, and we as his eternal servants, and being his part and parcel, we are also Satchit Ananda. But when we come into contact with this material world, that time these three modes of material nature act upon us. So why is it so difficult for the devotees and even as normal humans to transcend these three modes of material nature? So it is something very difficult to overcome, because all these three modes of material natures, it cannot be said that we are always in mode of goodness or we are always in the mode of passion. There is always these three modes prevailing, and each of the mode is trying to dominate its own qualities in the living entity. So I was hearing it from one of the senior devotees. He was mentioning that when we watch a movie, it is also pleasing to our senses, because it's all filled with fantasy. The director has written a particular script, and the entire movie goes through the same thing. So it's all filled with fantasy. It's like it's something so unrealistic that's being presented, but still somewhere in our minds we're all satisfied looking at the movie, and when we are watching it, it's a kind of enjoyment that's going on and we are enjoying it. But when on the other hand we come and read the shastras, people get bewildered. People have so many questions. They're like, how can this happen? How can an exalted devotee like Bharat Maharaj fall down, or how can this happen to another exalted person? It's all so confusing. That is because Shastras is presenting the reality to us. It's not hiding anything. But when we see in this material world, and when we go see the movies, it is also unrealistic, and we ourselves know that such things can never take place. But still it is pleasing to us. But when Shastras present the reality to us, we are bewildered and we do not know what to do. So, in this context, Krishna explains to Uddhava, telling how nobody in who comes to this material world, rebelling against the Lord within us, with the sense of enjoyment, with a desire to enjoy, who comes down to this material world, nobody can escape these three modes of material nature. So that is how strong these three modes of material nature is. And these three modes, it has been controlled by Maya. So when we open the books of when we open the pages of Bhagavad Gita, we can see the famous picture of the three, the three beautiful women, and they're controlling a couple of men, just like the puppets. So these three modes of material nature are the same way. They are controlling the living entity just like the puppets, because it is these three modes which is prevailing, and we are controlled by the three modes rather than we controlling the modes. So these three modes of material nature, they are so strong that we come under their influence so easily. Sometimes in certain situations we do not even know how to even react to such situations. So it could be that confusing, because there could be the mixture of all the three modes coming together. So it in Sanskrit, these three modes of material nature, it is known as gunas. So gunas, gunas means ropes. So we can see has to in Bhagavad Gita, there is one picture wherein the ropes are being tied, and all the individual living entities are being controlled. So all these three modes, it is tying the living entities, it is binding these living entities, and it is just impossible to overcome these three modes of material nature, because they are that strong. So to understand this in a better way, acharyas, they give example of a crystal, how crystal is so clear. So when it can when you present anything in front of the crystal, it automatically takes that form. So for example, if you pass an yellow color light through the crystal, it becomes yellow. So if you pass a red color light through the crystal, it becomes the color, it turns into red. So crystal is so clear that it easily absorbs whatever is being passed through the crystal. So similarly, in this material world, we as living entities, we are Satchitananda. But when we come in contact with this material nature, that is when we get absorbed into these three modes of material nature, these three modes of material that is prevailing in this material world. So in order Guru Maharaj, he gives a very beautiful example as to how these three modes of material nature, they're always prevailing in the living entities, and how we are not always in sattva guna, or we are not always in tamo guna or rajo guna, or how these three modes, they are all in a mixture, and they keep prevailing in the living entity. So he gives an example of colors. So the three modes of material nature are compared to the primary colors. We When we were at school, we would have learned the three colors of blue, yellow, and red. These three are the three primary colors, and other colors are just mixtures of these colors. So you mix these three colors, combine them, so you get another color. So Guru Maharaj was telling, so similarly, when we keep on mixing these colors, we get multiple millions of colors can be formed. So there are even colors that exist and we do not know their names. So those many colors can come out when these three primary colors of red, blue, and yellow are being mixed. So similarly, these three modes, the mode of goodness, the mode of ignorance, and the mode of passion, they are, in a particular living entity, somebody could be in the mode of ignorance. They could have 40% of mode of ignorance, and 40% of mode of passion, and another 20% of mode of goodness. So various mixtures can prevail, and due to these combinations of mixture that is prevailing, these three modes of material nature, we tend to act in a particular way. So so we can understand how strong these three modes of material nature are. So in fact, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has kept a separate chapter. The Lord discusses in the 14th chapter of these three modes of material nature. And even before that, he gives the description of bhakti yoga. So one can ask, why is that Lord, beforehand telling about bhakti yoga and later discussing about the three modes of material nature? So senior Vaishnava, he was mentioning it is because, so once we understand what is bhakti yoga and what are the three modes of material nature and how strong the three modes of material nature are, then the living entity is convinced that the only way that he can transcend these three modes is through bhakti yoga. Because your Lord describes about those ashtanga yoga, karma yoga, dhyana yoga. All this, it is impossible for somebody to perform all these various process of bhakti and transcend these three modes. So that is why the Lord discusses even about bhakti yoga prior to the three modes of material, before discussing the three modes of material nature in 14th chapter, so that we understand as to how important performing bhakti yoga is. And now moving on, so we will try and understand as to what is this mode of goodness, and what is mode of passion, and what is mode of ignorance. So what are the characteristics or a behavior of a person who is in this particular mode? So usually a person who is in mode of goodness, it is said that he is satisfied, he is happy, and he is organized in his lifestyle, and he lives a very healthy life. And he schedules his programs, so he's organized. But when it comes to the person who is in mode of passion, it is usually a very common example for mode of passion given is example of a businessman. how he's always so how he always associates himself with his business, and how he's in that passion to grow and expand his business and earn more and more profits. So the main driving force for mode of passion is the desire. So when a living entity, he get so when one living entity, the common example that we discuss usually is so for example, a person, he has a bike, then he desires to have a car, and then maybe a chartered flight, and things keep on multiplying. So the main thing that drives the mode of passion is the desire to accumulate more and more and more. So so somebody can have a house, and then like that then he want to have a bike and then a car. So it keeps on going and going, so there's no end to desires that a human being can have. So it keeps on expanding, as the desires keep on going more and more, as he desires more and more. Similarly, he's more passionate to go and achieve them. So when I was scrolling to the YouTube, um, I came through an advertisement. So as we have these entrepreneurs, there's something known as uh, I don't remember what do they call, but people who are driven by passion. So they're like, what cannot passion help you to do? So join our workshop so that you can streamline your passion and achieve what you desire. But they're failing to understand that these people who are driven by passion, they do not know what is the goal or what is the goal of life. So the goal of life is to serve the supreme lord, but they're already caught in the circle of fulfilling their desires, that they can never come out. So people who are in mode of passion, their main driving force is their desires. They are never satisfied, they want more and more. And when it comes to the mode of ignorance, people, the characteristic of a living entity who is in mode of ignorance, so he's in he's always lazy and sleep. The nidra devi prevails a lot on such person. He's always sleepy, very lazy and procrastinating things. So he cannot he does not have an organized life. So it is usually said that people who sleep a lot, or who have a desire to sleep a lot, they can become a polar bear in their next life, because how polar bear is, it eats for 6 months and then it goes for hibernation for next of the 6 months. So it is in the mode of ignorance. The mode of ignorance is prevailing in such living entities who are always sleepy or lazy to do things. So these are certain characteristics of people who are there in mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So to understand this better, I heard a lecture wherein they gave an analogy, a beautiful analogy of Ramayana. So we all know as to how it was because of Manthara, Kaikeyi got influenced by Manthara, and she decided to send Rama on exile. So we know she was King Dasharatha. He had 3 queens, and Kaikeyi was one of his dearmost queens. And he had given her 2 of the wishes, so she could ask for 2 boons, and Dasharath Maharaj, he promised, telling that he would fulfill them. So it is said that Kaikeyi loved Lord Rama more than her own son Bharata. So that was the amount of love that Kaikeyi had. So but and when she heard that Rama is going to become the king, he's going to be coronated, he's going to become the next king, and Ayodhya is going to run under his leadership, she was very happy. And when it was Kaikeyi actually who came and told sorry, it was Manthara who came and told Kaikeyi that Rama is going to become the next king of Ayodhya. She was so happy listening to it. She gave one of her most precious jewels to Manthara for giving her such a good news. So that is the amount of love she had for Ram. But Kaikeyi, she influenced, Manthara influenced Kaikeyi so much so that Kaikeyi was in the mode of goodness, and she came into the mode of passion, that telling that my son Bharata should become the king. So when Manthara comes and tells Kaikeyi that Ram is going to become the next king, and Kaikeyi is all happy, Manthara tells Kaikeyi that you're acting like a foolish woman. See, if Rama becomes the king, and what if your son is being banished out of the kingdom? So where will he go, and what will he do for the rest of his life? So she fills Kaikeyi's mind with all the nonsense thoughts that would never have even come into Kaikeyi's mind. And then we know how Kaikeyi goes to Dasharath, and she asks for the two boons that he had promised for. That one is sending Rama to 14 years of exile and making Bharat as king. So that Bharat will rule Ayodhya for the rest of the time period until Ram comes back from his exile. And Kaikeyi, even after Manthara telling Kaikeyi that send Rama to exile, when she tells that send Rama to exile, she still has so much love for Lord Rama that she asks Manthara, it seems, as to why should he be sent to exile. It is okay, she understood the concept of making Bharat as king, but why is that Ram should be sent to exile? And even Manthara starts giving explanation to that, as to how if he is in Ayodhya, then people will never come out, people will never stop respecting Lord Ram, and it will take a certain period of time for them to get adjusted to Bharata's ruling the kingdom. And she gives various examples to she tries to convince Kaikeyi that Ram should be sent to exile. So and while going to the exile, we know as to how Lakshmana, accompanies Lord Ram along with Mother Sita. Then when Lord Ramachandra, he asks Lakshman to Lakshman would be all ready to go with Lord Ram, but Lord Ram tells him, go ask your mother Sumitra and come whether you can come to exile with me, because it is only Ramachandra who and his wife Mother Sita had to go on exile. And when Lord asks Lakshmana to go ask his mother, even before Lakshmana going to his mother Sumitra and asking if he can go, Mother Sumitra tells to Lakshmana to accompany Lord Ram. So she even tells that somebody who is not even able to somebody who is not able to engage her son in the service of the Lord, it is better that such a mother doesn't give birth to such son. So that was the mood of Mother Sumitra as to how she had brought up Lakshmana in the mood of serving the Lord. So here we discussed about three women, and these all three women are depicting the different modes of material nature. So first one, it was Manthara, Kaikeyi, and Mother Sumitra. So Manthara, she was in the mode of ignorance. She depicts mode of ignorance. So it is said that Manthara, she had an hunched back, and in her earlier days, people used to come and tease her because of her hunched back, and she was not a good looking lady, so they used to come and tease her. But later she became maid servant when Kaikeyi got married and she came to Ayodhya. Manthara was her maid servant, and she also happened to come with Kaikeyi, and she was with Kaikeyi for such a long time. In spite of that, what did Manthara do? She couldn't understand the needs of Kaikeyi. She, stuffed all the nonsense thoughts in the mother of Kaikeyi, and she provoked Kaikeyi to go against Lord Ram, got that love converted into hatred, and that is what she did. In spite of being with Kaikeyi for such a long time, Manthara couldn't understand what actually is the mood of Kaikeyi and how much she loves Lord Ram. Just for her own benefit, Manthara, she got Kaikeyi deviated from her path. And Kaikeyi, she was in the more Kaikeyi represents the mode of passion. So how when Manthara came and told her as to how it should be her son who should become the king and the next king and not Lord Ram, she was driven by that passion. My son, my family, so it's going to become my kingdom, and she's driven by that passion of my son. So the acharyas tell there is a difference between being affectionate and getting attached to your family, or to your son, to your husband, or to your wife. So a mere difference is that uh, when you tell being affectionate towards your son, it is that taking care of him. Being a parent, it is the duty of the parent to take care of the children. But when you tell attachment, it is what is my son doing, what will he do after this particular age. So my Shiksha Guru, he gives a very nice example as to how when you're going for vegetable purchase in the market, he suppose you're purchasing fruits and vegetables, so that your daughter or your son, he intakes the vegetables, and he's all fit, healthy and fine. So that is being affectionate. But if you are more attached, you become, if you're more attached to the son and you're purchasing things that he likes so that he can consume, so you're in all conscious about your son rather than being conscious about the Lord. So there is a difference between being attached and being affectionate. So what happened in the case of Kaikeyi, she became more attached to her son. So she got into the mode of passion of my son. So that is when she could be easily modified or manipulated by the thoughts of Manthara. And when we see Mother Sumitra, so she was in the mode of goodness. So as I told, even before Lakshman going and asking his mother, can I go to exile with Lord Ramachandra, Sumitra, beforehand she permitted him, and she always, made Lakshman grow in his younger days. She always trained him to, be the servant of the Lord. She always thought Lakshmana to serve the Supreme Lord. So as we all have been hearing that it represents us that we as a conditioned soul, our eternal position is to serve the Supreme Lord. Guru Maharaj tells that Jivera Swarupa Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. So the position of the soul, the constitutional position of the soul, is that we are always the servant of the Supreme Lord. And Mother Kaikeyi, by her behavior, she depicts that how in the mode of goodness we have to always be in that consciousness that we are always serving the Supreme Lord. So Ramayana has different, aspects of understanding. The senior devotee, she was mentioning that, our heart is like Ayodhya, and we are Kaikeyi, and our mind is Mantra, and our mind, who is like Mantra, it is always asking us to deviate from Lord, and satisfy our own senses and fall into the prey of this material world under the influence of these three modes of material nature. But we have to be like Mother Sumitra, and tell our mind that we are conditioned soul, and our the only service that we have is being at the service, at the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra, just as like Lakshman did. So this is one of the analogies that I had heard, and how these and how we can distinguish these three modes of material nature. And I would like to finally conclude as to how our daily routine also, influences how our activities are being influenced by the different things we associate with. So in the example of Ramayana that I stated, we can see as to how, association played a very important role. So how our daily routine that we do, people with whom we associate, the food intake, the clothes we wear, everything, each, and it could be, minute details, but all these are influence shows how these three modes of material nature are is influencing. So for example, the time we wake up in the morning, so we can see that Brahma Muhurta 4 to 6, our chanting goes really well, because that particular time of the day, it is the mode of goodness. But when we come, from 10 to 5, 9 to 5 job, or 10 to 6, that period, we are in mode of goodness. 10 a.m. We are in mode of passion. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. we are in the mode of passion. And and after that, when we are back from office, because why is it we are in mode of passion? That particular time period of the day, we are working. So we are in the mode of passion. And from after that, around night, from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m, we're in the mode of ignorance, because as I mentioned, being sleepiness, because we are in sleep, and that time we are in the mode of ignorance. So even that small thing of waking up in the morning, it distinguishes our three modes of material nature. And even in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord mentions as to how the food we intake, it also, shows as to how we are in the three modes of material nature. So when we are, we are intaking prasadam, we are in the mode of goodness. It is the remnants of the Lord. But when we are, eating spicy food, which is, it could be mirchi bhaji or too much spice food, we're in the mode of ignorance, so mode of ignorance or mode of passion. So when that is the reason that acharyas tell, don't consume onion and garlic, because these foodstuffs that we intake, onion and garlic, they show the mode of good, tamoguna and rajoguna, the mode of ignorance and mode of passion prevails. And because of this, we cannot perform our bhakti life. And even I heard it from my Shiksha Guru. He told me that even the clothing that we wear, that is why it is mentioned that we have to wear dhoti and kurta when we perform devotional service, because the clothes we wear, it also shows the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion that prevails. So, when you wear Western clothes, the same mode keeps prevailing. So similarly, it is very important as to how we schedule certain things in our daily life, So we can understand as to how these three modes, prevail. It could be minute things, but still when we try and change our routine, like, waking up in the morning, dressing in Vaishnava etiquette, and consuming Krishna Prasad, all these are in the mode of goodness. And when we are, performing this routine on a regular basis, it helps us to, transcend these three modes. So I stop here by, and I would like to thank Mathurapati Prabhu and Parabhakti Mataji. And in continuation with this, we will try and discuss how do we transcend. So we have known what are the three modes of material nature. We'll try and discuss how we can transcend. So if I've committed any mistake, I request for forgiveness. Thank you, Hare Krishna.